I think I've mentioned to you before on numerous occasions that I come from a large family. There were 11 of us kids, 6 boys and 5 girls. When I was around 13 or 14 years old, I arrived home on a Friday evening after a long football practice and found my parents all dressed up. And I asked, where are you going? My dad said they had a dinner engagement that had come up at the last minute. So I asked which of my 2 sisters, Mimi or Rita, were going to watch the kids. The kids were everybody but me. Neither, said my mom. They're both spending the night out. Then who is going to watch them? I asked. As they were walking out the door, my dad said, we are leaving you in charge. And from the stern look on his face, this was something that I knew I'd better not mess up or something bad was going to happen. Well, for most people, being told that you're in charge would be some kind of an achievement, an honor. But on this occasion, I wasn't sure I wanted to be in charge for several reasons. First of all, if my parents discovered that you could do something, then you would be volunteered to do it time and time again. I'd seen this happen with my 2 older sisters, who, without thinking about the repercussions, agreed once to change a diaper of one of my younger siblings. Then from then on, they were volunteered to continue this chore on a regular basis. Not me. When I was asked to change a diaper, I quickly fled and disappeared from the scene. Babysitting once would lead to that same volunteering arrangement. The other reason for my apprehension concerned my brothers and sisters, especially the 3 brothers that were right behind me in age. Now, it wasn't easy for my parents to get outside babysitters, not just because of our family size, but because the way my closest brothers and I behaved. Needless to say, we were closer to devils than we were saints. Many a sitter vowed never to return to our house after being accidentally locked in a closet for an hour or sprayed with the hose as they were coming to do their duties. Now I would be in charge of my 3 closest brothers, the same brothers that I had led myself and trained them in the art of harassing babysitters. As the saying goes, now the shoe was on the other foot, and my brothers would see me as the enemy. And as my parents, I think my parents knew this, and it was a big testing moment. But I bet everybody here at one time or another has been put in charge of something at the last minute. Maybe it was babysitting or monitoring the class while the teacher stepped out for a moment. Perhaps it was a special project at school that had to be completed really quickly. Someone didn't show up for work, and an order had to be completed in a rush. A coach of a kid's baseball or soccer team was out with the flu, and you had to step in and coach. Whether we may or may not want to be in charge, whether we are honored for our selection or not, I think it's important that we all think about what we volunteer for before we do it. You know, as Christians, we're called to be in charge in spreading the mission of Jesus, and we need to remember that we're never alone. The Feast of the Ascension we celebrate today was and still is a pivotal point between the resurrection of Jesus and the arrival of the Holy Spirit at Pentecost for the apostles and each one of us. For 3 years, the apostles had lived with Jesus. They had heard his teachings. They had seen him perform many miracles and healings, gone out on his command, and they did likewise. Now he was leaving them. Similar to what my dad said to me some 50 years ago, Jesus was telling the apostles, I am putting you in charge to take over my ministry. For the apostles, Jesus' ascension should have been a joyful occasion because he was returning to his Father, where he rightfully belonged. But like me, when I was told you are in charge to babysit, the apostles must have had some trepidation, some reservations, and worried if they were up to the task that was thrust upon them. Matthew's account of the ascension said they doubted. Before Jesus ascended, the apostles asked him, Lord, are you at this time going to restore the kingdom of Israel? I really think the question they were asking was, when are you going to return? But Jesus didn't answer them the way they thought. He said, it is not for me or you to know the seasons. Now that answer was probably not very encouraging, and I doubt it increased the apostles' confidence. The apostles were on their own without that physical Jesus presence to guide them. They were afraid, and they felt alone. However, Jesus knew this, and he explained that they would not be alone for long. In our first reading from Acts, Luke recounts how Jesus told them to stay in Jerusalem and wait for the power of the Father. And in a few days, you will be baptized by the Holy Spirit. From being drawn together by fear, they were now open to see the advocate in their midst. It is this very realization that we celebrate here today. The letting go of Jesus they knew, and the opening out to the Spirit that would eventually transform their fear into boldness. Like the apostles, we too are in charge to go out and tell others about Jesus' message, to spread his gospel. And like the apostles, we're not going alone. We are given the power of the Father in our baptism and in our confirmation. And each time we receive Eucharist, we are getting God's strength in us. Being told you're in charge at times can cause worry and to wonder if we're really ready. But being chosen by the Lord is different because we will not be alone. Jesus told the apostles to wait for the Holy Spirit. And next weekend, Pentecost Sunday, we will celebrate that promise. The Holy Spirit is right here with us now and will be with us as we bring Jesus' message to others. Now, if you're wondering what happened to the babysitting and how it turned out, I had a plan. I put all the kids in my parents' bedroom that had the biggest television. And I told any of them if they tried to leave, I would whack them with a pillow. As expected, my three brothers, Nick, Pat, and Mike, took up the challenge. And what ensued was a pillow fight that lasted for an hour and a half. For the four of us, it was great fun. However, the other five didn't like it, and they complained so much that I was never put in charge again when it came to babysitting.